back, what is like, could you point 3 defining moments for you in your lifetime so far?
Wow. 3 defining moments. Defining is,
You know, like defining moments are those moments where a lot changes for you. You
Mhm.
make this decision. You know, I know New Year resolutions have had bad reps, but if we take resolution for what exactly it truly is,
Yeah.
the things that happen to us and we're like, because of this,
Yeah.
I would never, like, the people who have chosen, I would never be poor
Right.
because they've experienced some level of poverty and maybe somebody made them feel a certain way
Right.
in one
I get
moment
that.
and they
Yeah.
decide
Yeah.
whatever it takes, you know, they're just that resolutions you make,
Yeah.
or you make a resolution that this would never happen to me again, or this is a mantra I'm going to coin out of it, right? So that's how I'm thinking about defining moment.
Right. So 3 defining moments for me. The first one would be, so I think I was about 15, 16 when I got chosen to represent Nigeria in a global young leaders conference in DC and in New York. And it was like 350 scholars from across like the world, right? So you had teenagers from, different parts of the world.
You're not joking about this, your purpose from small.
Yeah, like, and the thing about it is, so I went to a school that was very competitive, right? Like you literally had all the people who came first and second in all their primary schools in that school. So somebody must come first and someone must come last. And you coming last doesn't mean that you're not smart because you're just coming last because,
out of the best.
Yeah, so like I used to come like 50 something.
Out of how many?
Yeah, like out of like 70, 80 in my class.
That's the last one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, And I used to come first in primary school.
I get that.
So it was crazy, right? So I didn't think that I was the best person to pick at the time. Like there were people who were, like the epicals of the class. There were people who were, really great at what they do. And here's me coming 50, 60 something, being picked to represent my country. But I think for me, the thing that really, sort of came through for me was, I went, to the conference, experienced these youth leaders from everywhere in the world. Like, we would do things like mock United Nations, like we would literally go to the United Nations head office in New York and actually.
Does the school still exist?
My school? No, I went to Queen's College. Of course it exists. It's a government school. Yeah, it's a government school. So imagine just sitting out in your classroom and the teacher walks in and gives you a letter and says you're representing your country, and the whole class is first eyeing you like, why did they pick you? Because I was a sportsman, right? Like I played on my high school basketball team. I did athletics.
And you
ran.
Bringing people together again for their talents.
Yeah, but I wasn't, again, back then, the way they used to pick people for these things, it was the brainy, it was the number one person. But let me tell you why I said it was defining for me. 2 reasons. One is the realization that, you see, the anointing that I carry, right, I will always be picked. It's just what it is. And I've come into knowing and understanding that whatever is meant for me, like that moment was so defining because I ended up going to the conference, like I said, right? Then I ended up being invited for the CYLC, the Congressional Youth Leadership in Austria, in Vienna. And the thing for me was like, so meeting with all these young leaders, learning about leadership, understanding how important leadership is for my life's journey and for the world, the way things need to operate in this world. That moment was a leap into now knowing that when I go into university, right? First of all, it was a leap into knowing what I wanted to do in university. Then it was a leap into when I go into university, right? This is the sort of person I want to be. So when I went into uni, I was president of African Students Association. I was president of Association of African Charities. I was a vice president at International Students Union.
Your family always has was this leadership. President thing. I just need you to know.
It was leadership.
Everybody in your family gets a leadership.
Yeah, this is true. My brother is currently.
So maybe we should actually give the accolades to your dad and your mom. Well, whatever it was that they did.
Yes. No, and I give them credit all the time. One of the things my parents taught us was self-leadership first, right? Like you lead yourself. When I'm leaving my house in the morning, like I'm hesitating between should I make my bed or not make my bed. And I remember my father's voice being like, make your bed, right? Not because anybody's going to come to my room or see it, but because I'm the one that is going to come back and see the mess. So because I don't want to see the mess, I'll make it, right? And that for me is self-leadership. That's something that my parents always taught us. So for us, it was never about the accolades. Like when I'm telling you I was president of all these things, it wasn't like the accolades because it's not like I use those things to get anything I get now. But for me, it was that place of just understanding that you are a leader and being okay with being a leader, and knowing that leadership chooses you sometimes, even when you don't choose leadership. So like I feel like I was picked. When they say you're born to do something, you just kind of know, like, man, I was born for this life.
That's where your conviction came.
Yes, my conviction definitely came from there, right? Just being in that position. And just, I think the confidence of just, again, that reminder, I feel like that moment also reminded me beyond leadership that, what's meant for me will always be for me. So that was that was what I would say was like the defining, sort of moment. So it was that. And I think the second thing for me was definitely when I had my son, yeah, definitely when I had my son. I know.
I didn't expect it.
You really?
I didn't expect it.
No, that was definitely a defining moment. I think for me, just that ability to nurture someone, like, it's like, God just gives you a whole human.
That depends on you for survival.
A whole human that was once fetus. You're like, wow. And yeah, and like, just, I think for me, it was knowing that he was born from a place of love, right? From myself and his father's love, in that in that human, was really powerful, and we weren't trying to have a child. So it wasn't like, yeah, like, so weren't expecting him, and just kind of,
for it.
yeah, weren't prepared for it, and just having, so I really,
I don't
believe
even
there was
think
purpose in
anybody's
it.
ever really prepared for motherhood and
Yeah.
parenting.
Yeah, I mean, some people like wish and pray and
Yeah,
hope,
but it
like,
doesn't make you prepared.
oh, this is true. This is true. In fact, none of us, even till now, I'm still not prepared. We're learning as we're going. Yeah, you learn as you go. Um, but yeah, like, I think for me that really just kind of, my journey with him as a mother, has just helped me to really understand unconditional love, and being able to, again, practice seeing this person become their own person versus a version of me, because it's very
Mistakes
easy.
you want to correct.
It's very, yes. And the thing is, it's very easy beyond mistakes. It's very easy to want to program our children, right? Like, where it's like, oh, you got to play football. You got to play this. You got to play. Because
Yeah,
I
but
played.
it's also because of so two things I've found is that people want to either repair
Mhm.
or recreate.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, I experienced this thing with my dad, so I
So
want
I'll
to have
do
it.
this.
Yeah, I'll do it for my kid. Or I didn't like how my dad did this, so I would do this. It's like how a lot of us didn't like how, not Misha, but many people didn't like how their parents wanted them to be doctors,
Yeah.
lawyers. So now everybody's now like, be a footballer, be a
Right.
musician, but we're doing the same things in
Yes,
very
you're
different
right.
ways.
You're absolutely right. Because maybe that child's meant to be a doctor, and now you're forcing them into a space. No, yeah, absolutely right. Like, I had to, like, it's interesting because I feel like my son came as a test. Like, God gave me this test that says, I tell you this. Like, I was that kid who played multiple music instruments, played sports, I did all those things, right? Him, on the other hand, has zero interest. And I've done every intentional parenting hack. I bought keyboard and put it in front of him.
So he would just press, but nothing.
I've done those things, right? And I realized that he's more of like a STEM kid, right? So my son is very technical. He's the guy who can fix everything in the house. Like, you have an issue, he has a screwdriver set. He's only 8. He even has a soldering iron that I don't let him use all the time. But
Wow.
but basically, he
Okay,
has
under
his stuff.
supervision.
Yes, and I realized, like, that he loves it. Like, he can be there building things for hours. And so I had to shift from trying to force what I believe, he should do. And sometimes, to be honest, as parents as well, right? Like, sometimes there's that outward pressure when all the moms are going to swimming, all the moms are on the football field, and you're kind of like, you're the only one mom that is not there. And you're like, I used to come home back in the day and I'd be like, your friends are doing swimming. You see, your friends are, and I realized I got to plug it, right? And stop enforcing. And it actually came from him. So this is me who's super intentional, still obviously allowing my emotions to lead. And my son literally pushing back and saying to me, Mom, first of all, I'm not them. And two, like, I don't want to do those things,
Your son is very outspoken. I'm saying
He
him
is.
talk back. It's so cool. I'm like, I don't know how you manage to get him to know what he wants. I mean, it's not always right, but
Yeah.
he can articulate what it is that he wants.
Yeah, I think he learned from seeing, from action,
nice.
right? Like because I'm like that, you know.
Sure.
And I think that he's just kind of seen the way I navigate the world, and you know, the kids are always watching, right? So I feel
Always.
like you know he's seen me navigate the world. He's the nature of my family is well, my family is very liberal
I'm
in so
aware.
many ways, you know. So I think yes, there's some we still have this you know strictness here and there, but we're very liberal, and I think that he it allows us to love unconditionally. Like I come from a family where like the love is like there. Like you never feel like you're not loved, right? By my parents, by my siblings, all of that. So I feel like for him, the thing that has always been important to me is the thing that has kept me is knowing that I'm loved at home. So I don't really care for external validation. So with him, I'm doing the same thing. I want him to always know that he's loved at home and that we have that relationship for him to talk so that he doesn't have to look for it outside, you know. And his father's very good at that. Like his father's like super hands-on, super you know that he loves this child kind of guy, right? So yeah, so I think that synergy allows us to, you know, just kind of exist.
So I'm going to ask another question, which sounds similar but a bit different. In what's one way do you think motherhood changed you? Like beyond unconditional love, beyond, all the things that you've mentioned, was there one specific thing that you noticed outside of
About
things you
myself.
mentioned? Yeah, as an individual.
I mean, yeah, it definitely, you know, how do I put this now? So I think for me, it also just kind of allowed me to, what's the word I want to use? To just morph and adapt to where I am right now, you know, because the me underneath would probably be in a different country every 2 weeks. Like, you know what I mean? Like the me underneath would want to be like, there are times where I want to go to like a mountain in Thailand and just not talk to any, you know, and not talk to anyone for 3 weeks. But I can't do that because I have a child that needs me at this stage in their life, right? So I think for me, it just, you know, the struggle between I want to be this person and I need to be this person in this season of my life for my child, right? Is something I kind of had to, I feel like I had to learn it, you know.
I'm going to ask you about your relationship with your parents at some point.
Okay.
But before I get there, I wanted to know what you think is the most underrated part of your story.
The most underrated. Underrated. Um, I think that, well, I definitely, okay, so I definitely think of my entire story.
Your whole life.
Yeah, I definitely think that the most underrated part is probably the fact that I look the way that I look and I've been able to, you know, operate and work in a corporate environment in Nigeria, you know, and do business on different levels. Highly underrated.
Everything people expect you to do, you always go left.
No, but it's true though.
You're always left, right? So, for example, you're the Christian who worked, or you run a club, right?
Yeah, at some point, yeah.
What did running a nightclub teach you?
What did it teach me? It taught me that you can be running a nightclub and you'll be seeing bottles coming to the table and you're excited and celebrating. And then when you run the books at the end of the day, you find out that your staff were bringing in bottles and those were their bottles.
They still do that thing,
And
like
they were
till
selling.
now,
This
it's
was
a
back
problem
in the
that a lot of
day.
people still face. No, for real. I've actually heard friends of mine who run establishments like that, and that's exactly the challenge.
Yeah, so I had to learn how to just count my money as it's happening. Like
Do you
in the
still do
middle
that
of
in
the day, I
other
don't wait for the
aspects
end
of
to
your
do
life? You
reconciliation.
do it now in other aspects of
No, not necessarily. I think now I trust. I have people around me who do the money counting, so I kind of just trust them to do it.
girl.
You know,
Girl.
yeah. Let's chop the knuckle on that.
As
But
in,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not
You know, I think trust, right? Like when you have people that you trust, you just kind of like, you know, can sleep on some of it.
Yeah, but how was it like running that as a Christian? Do people like look at you a certain way? Did anybody have like reservations?
Maybe
I know
they
you didn't
did.
care,
Yeah,
but
no, I mean maybe they did. But I think, you know, for me it was just like to be honest, I don't think that I ever even thought about it as a club. I just knew that I was working. You know, it was like I think I was more focused on the back end than I was like I was never really in the front, you know, partying or doing anything. But what I will say though is the difference is that I'm not gonna lie, my Christian ethics, and not necessarily, I don't even think it's Christianity, to be fair. I think it's just my ethics as a person. Definitely came into play in many situations because it wasn't just me running the club. There were a group of us. So there were things I didn't agree with. There were situations where I was like, nope, not happening. I'm not doing. And I think that's just personal ethics. I don't even think it's so much like religious
Yeah.
as such, you know.
What's the question you wish people asked you more when you were speaking?
When I was speaking now,
Like when you were speaking generally.
or what's the
what's
question?
What's the question you wish more people asked?
Do you know how to drink water? No, let me tell you why. That's it's actually a powerful question. Yeah, like do you need to drink something or whatever? And the reason being that I feel like because I'm naturally like an energetic, I can be energetic once I'm not naturally energetic at home, but I'm energetic once I am sitting to speak and things like that. And I feel like sometimes people lose track of my humanity in the way that I show up because I can show up and show up strong and full. And I've I've spoken at events, for example, where like they did not give me water to drink. I was like, that I think for me it's just the empathy and the moment of just kind of seeing me and noticing me
I just want
beyond
you to know that you've set yourself up
beyond that.
because if we post this video and all those your 100,000 fans,
Well, you always ask me if I've drank
I
water.
know, but like
every
your
time you see
100,000
me, you're
fans,
like, have you drank water?
when you know Adaora is speaking, they'll carry water in there. But so you have to make plans. How are you going to do it? Be ready.
I don't know, but yeah. But water is also synonymous for pretty much like just asking me how I am. I guess that's what I mean, right?
The
So it's
more
not just water.
intentional
Yeah.
way of asking. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think sometimes when people meet people who have a lot of followers, I think they forget that we're human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
I don't even have as many followers as you, but I know what I've encountered in this
Yeah.
life. It's like you stop being a human. And I wonder what people who have more fame go through.
yeah.
Because I don't know. That might be a good conversation to have with one of my friends who probably have like 1 million or 2 million followers.
But I think there's a difference between more fame and influence.
Tell
In the sense, in this context,
I
that you
agree,
just
but
shared,
tell me.
right? Like, I feel like for some of us, we may not have 1 million followers, but we're carrying deeper than someone that has 1 million followers in the sense that the questions that people ask me are not the same questions they ask someone else.
I agree with you.
Do you
They
understand what
might
I
just
mean?
ask for selfies.
Yes.
Yeah. But with us, they want to pick our brain.
Exactly. So you're actually expending more energy with your 50 something thousand followers than someone who is millions of followers and all they need to do is shop and smile and take
Which
the
is
picture.
also stressful.
So
but
for us, it's energy. It's a lot more energy.
yesterday I came back from somewhere and I was telling labs, I was like, today they've picked my brain with chopsticks. Nothing remains. Like they probably ate it like noodles. I was
they pick my brain in the toilet. They pick your brain in the toilet. And you know what? I had, we've had this conversation
so
before,
funny.
right? Like where we appreciate the fact that we're blessed to be able to have those conversations to help. But sometimes there's just that boundary of like, I'm in the middle of lunch or like I'm talking to someone,
I'm cutting my hair.
I'm cutting my hair, and I don't really like, and you just directly ask me, how can I brand my I'm like, my brain is switched off today. I'm not even trying to think.
Oh God, I remember one of my friends, very popular, but also influential. He was in the hospital with his mom and somebody came to take selfie and was asking questions in the hospital. It's like, if I'm in the hospital, something must be wrong with me or someone I love. Can you chill? And I know I understand it in the sense that, at that time, they might just be overwhelmed.
Yes.
They might not get that opportunity again. They're just acting out of, and they're showing love. But
it's love, but it's balance.
Balance.
It's balance and it's tough, right? Like, but we gotta. They'll say we chose this life.
What's your
We didn't
favorite
choose
thing
this
about
life. The
yourself?
life happened.
No, wait. Before you answer that, I was going to ask you about your parents.
Okay.
Why are you so into celebrating your parents so much?
Why am
I love it.
Yeah.
I like seeing it, but I'd like to know.
I mean, I feel like there's nothing not to celebrate about them. Like my parents are, like I said, my parents are the epitome of love, right? They epitomize what it means to love a person, and it's not even for me. It's not even about us as their kids. It's the way I see them love other people. Like I grew up in a home where, like, if I look at majority of my friends throughout my life, they've either slept in my house. My mother has done their laundry. My father has gone to go and pick up something for them, like, or gone to the airport to pick up a friend. Like, this past weekend, a friend came to my house and my parents had come to my house, right? Earlier than the friend. And my dad was like, no, you don't have enough in the house. My dad went to go and buy stuff for this friend that was coming to my house, right? To eat and drink. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, it's that thing where, and you understand the context of that for an African father,
parent.
for
Yeah,
example.
my dad is like that.
But it's just that thing of just, service and love without the serere of, over respect. And I think because they've been naturally like that, we respect them. Like they earn the respect. Like it's not, I don't
It's not
respect my
forced.
parents because they're my parents. I respect my parents because I love them.
Yeah. But why are you celebrating them publicly?
Mhm.
I think that's the core question.
I mean, I think for me, it's just, I want to always give
celebrate
them, I
everybody.
want to always give them their flowers while they're here. They're a huge priority for me. Even like with everything I do, if I'm making money, I'm just like, I want to take them on holiday. I want to make sure they're good. You know what I mean? Like it's a big priority for me.
So you want them to know, like experience. You don't want to because like how I celebrate my parents, I don't do it publicly, but I want them to know when they die, which they eventually will. I want to know, but for myself, it's also selfish. I want to know for myself that I didn't hold anything back.
Yeah. And it's not even just in like giving, right? It's in the words.
Exactly.
It's in speaking to your parents and letting them know that you understood certain decisions they made even when you were growing up. Because when you're adulting, when you're a child, the
You
things
don't
you
get
hold
to-
against your
yeah,
parents. When you're
but as an
adulting,
adult.
you realize that, man, you sacrificed your life for me, So they put themselves on the back burner so I can be. So me and my siblings can be. And so for me, it's just sort of being like, you just reminding them that they planted that seed on fertile ground.
That's why. All right, last question before Fisher has my head, because we're way out of time.
That's cool.
What's your favorite?
But
thing
it's you
about
and I
yourself?
now, so
I know.
and this
We can talk for years.
this is we're lawyers when we're kids, so we're in court now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's okay. All right. So, what's your favorite thing about yourself?
My favorite thing about myself, I think my ability to love people. I think my generosity and my ability to love people, but even my generosity comes from my ability to love people.
But it's so weird that you love, you're generous, but you have like boundaries that you enforce.
No, for sure.
Like, how do you do that? I mean,
for sure.
I mean,
Like,
I do it, but like, how do you do yours?
For me,
Do they laugh?
yeah, for me, it's I think that sometimes I don't really. I think I'm very honest about my position on things per time, and I don't really take it from a place of I'm not saying something because I don't love you. I'm saying something because I love you, because I know that this thing has the ability to mess up our relationship, right? So because of that, I want to be able to be honest about saying it, right? And I want my relationships to always be I curate my relationships such that I have people that can also be honest with me, right? That can be like, yo, like, I didn't really like the way you spoke to me yesterday. And I can be like, listen, I'm sorry I spoke to you that way. You know what I mean? And just
Have
that conversation, so because of that, I'm very careful about who I let into my inner space, because I know that that's probably where I'm the most brutally honest. I'm honest on a normal day to even outsiders, but I feel like I'm most brutally honest to the people who are closest to me,
I think maybe that's why I feel
like that.
Yeah, that's why I feel very comfortable with you. Like, it's one of the reasons I feel not 100% comfortable with you, because I don't have to guess. I always say this thing, like, I don't want to have to guess.
Right.
Because we're going to all air at some point.
Yeah.
Just tell me.
Yeah.
Because me, I'll just tell you.
Yeah.
But I also know that there are people who can't take
it. You're
just
right.
like that. But I think one of the things my closest friends know is I will always talk to you with empathy. I will always give you clarity and respect. I will always give you clarity. I would clarify wherever you need clarifications. Yeah, but I would never take my friends for granted.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why I don't take this for granted.
Me neither. I mean, that's it. Like, that's it, right? And I think, like, that evolution, like allowing people to evolve through their life and just as they're evolving and as things change for you, like something you took from me 2 years ago doesn't mean you take it now. You know what I mean? And so respecting that and not being like, but you were fine with it 2 years ago. No, but I'm not fine with it now, And sometimes just sort of allowing for that, and not taking it personal. Like, it's not about you.
Most times it's not. Sometimes you're collateral damage.
Your collateral damage.
Anyway, on this note, this is where we end. It was so lovely
It was
having
so
you. Thank you
nice.
for making the time. That's the best part.
I'm so glad that, we got people to be a fly on the wall for
I
conversations that we normally would have.
And now that you're doing yours, you guys go catch up on
I don't know what
Adora's
it's called.
version. We don't know the name yet. Took me a while to even know the name of this one. But we don't know the name yet. But when you see it, you will know. She's going to be having great conversations and she has great friends. Trust me, she has great friends. So please catch up. When you finish this episode, if it's available, then great. If it's not, and you're watching this when it's available, great, go and watch it.
Girl.
See promotion, just like that.
Promotion. Thank you. Plug it in. Yeah, I mean, well done with everything that you're doing with this. And I'm excited to just kind of, be part of your journey as you move through life.
Thank you.
And enjoy plenty money in future.
You always say this. You always say these things like your friends.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't work for 10 years, it's
Right.
your friends. Like as long as they go to those high places.
If I sleep and I say I'm not doing anything for the next 10 years, I'm fine. Because I'll just be like,
will blow now.
he has already blown.
Do you understand?
We're just manifesting it in real time.
Man, please, I will attach her just so you know. I'll come over, hang out once in a while.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll do this at your mansion.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Thank
Adaora.
you. Thank you. It's good to see you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.